Virgo, welcome to Carol's Universe, Tarot Readings from the Heart. Thanks ever so much for joining me on your week ahead reading. We're going to do October 11th to October the 17th. The cards that we're using today are the Shuffle Tarot. This is Collection B. I actually have Collection A here as well. When you order this deck, you get the two of them. So you get Collection A, Collection B. I think I got this either from Thailand or Malaysia, one of the two, I think. But they're brilliant. They're just brilliant. If you want to get really creative with tarot, use this deck. It's amazing. All it is, Virgo, is where the creators have, it's based on the Rider-Waite, definitely. And they're just using, for example, different characters from different cards and sticking them into different cards. So, for example, we've got the Fool sat on the Emperor's throne. So on the Emperor card, we have the Fool. So this, it's like doing a Lenormand reading. You've got the environment and then the person on it. So I've got a young person in the environment of somebody who holds a great deal of power and authority. So, you know, for me, this just looks like somebody who is very inexperienced, holding down a great deal of power and authority. Depending on what other cards around it, I guess we'd know how successful they'd be. But beautiful deck. And this is the chariot. This is the Hierophant. Is this the Hierophant? I think this is the Hierophant. Is it the Hierophant? Yeah, I think that's the Hierophant in the chariot. So look at this. Is it? I think it is. It's definitely not the High Priestess. And I don't see it being... Yeah, it's definitely in the house of the chariot. It looks like it's the Hierophant, though. Who's this one? Oh, you've got the lady from the World card. This might be in the Ace of Cups or the House of the Star. I think it's the Ace of Cups, though. She's taking a bath. It's just so good. It's just such a good deck. When everything is shuffled, the fun begins. I really like using these decks. So, yeah, we're going to use this one. And then for your spiritual guidance, Virgo, we're going to use the Angel Answers, Doreen Virtue, and Radley Valentine. Okay, let's make a start. If you'd like to order a reading after the general reading, you can do. Just click on the link in the comment section below. Also, I'm on Patreon as from late November, so I'll check you guys out then. Okay, here we go. So Virgo, what does the universe want you to be focusing on October 11th to October 17th? The Page of Swords. This is the Page of Pentacles, I believe in. No, is it the Fool, actually? No, it's the Fool, sorry. The Fool inside the Page of Pentacles. So what is the Page of Pentacles? Page of Pentacles for me is often learning. So this is about learning something new. And we've got a fresh character inside of this environment. So the Fool is all about taking risks, taking a leap of faith, new beginnings. I mean, those are the classic meanings of that card. But also when I think about the character of the Fool, this is somebody who is, and they're brandishing the Page of Swords high. So they're brandishing the sword of the page very high in their hand. Page of Swords is also about the truth as well. I think with the Fool, when I look at that card, the word that comes to mind is potential. And the potential, almost like there's a potential for anything with the Fool. It's a very optimistic card. And it's a card that would indicate for me the ability to simply move into a direction that you don't necessarily know what the outcome will be. But this is just about moving forward with confidence. But then we have it in the environment of the Page of Swords, which is all about learning. So the Fool, new experiences, optimism. And it feels to me like this is more about learning something new, but almost testing the waters. And almost there's I mean, the Fool and the Pages are very similar because they have this thirst for knowledge, okay? But it feels like with the Fool is more about kind of just experiencing whatever. The Page of Swords, as with any of the other pages, their learning is far more directed. So with the Page of Swords, he would be about learning perhaps things like writing, things like computers, academia. So this is a very academic card. All the pages learn different things, but they learn, it's a different thing that they learn. For example, the page of coins might learn how to do woodwork, or he might learn how to, he might be studying to become a doctor perhaps. Same as the page of swords, that's where their similarities are. They're very academic, but the page of coins is far more about learning how to do a skill. So becoming skilled with your hands, things like that. Also perhaps learning something financially would be the page of pentacles. So, mathematics, working in a shop with a till, or the page of coins can be going into the beauty trade, things like that, clothing. Whereas the page of swords is far more about reading books, learning far more academic subjects. So he wouldn't be kind of interested in learning about the beauty business, be more about learning an academic topic. So whether it's maths or English, poetry perhaps, or creative writing he can be involved in. So I think it almost feels like the situation for you, Virgo, is that you are ready for this new direction, but you have to kind of find the direction that you want to go in with it. What is it that you want to learn? Because the Fool is in the house of the Page of Swords. He's in the environment of the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords is about learning a particular thing. So if you are ready with that Fool energy through this page, then perhaps the focus needs to be on opening oneself up to learning a particular thing. We'll see what this is anyway, because they're very similar, except for the Fool doesn't really have a direction, and for me the Page of Swords does. But let's have a look at what plays out. What's the situation around this? Could also be a child. So the Tower, something has there's a bit of chaos here. There's some disruption here. Could be disruption that you weren't expecting, something that came out of the blue with the Tower energy. I'm not sure what card is sat in this one. I don't know who these people are actually on here. That's interesting. I don't know who this is on the card, what person sits in it, but it might be the Six of Cups, not sure. But I see something, sometimes it's a revelationary card as well, so we can talk about a revelation taking place with the Tower, or some unexpected chaos, something that was very disruptive perhaps. Let's have a look at the next one. Ooh, sorry guys, it's quite violent. Ten of Swords in the house of the Ten of Wands. So a lot of a painful struggle. Struggling with a lot of pain here. I'm not saying it was a violent thing, but these two cards together can be, especially with the Ten of Swords and the Tower, can be pretty violent. But it seems to me that there was a huge disruptive energy that happened around you, Virgo, and you were left, I think you were left quite wounded, actually, with that Ten of Swords. You were left struggling and very wounded by this catastrophic event that showed up here. I see a lot of wounds here, a lot of pain here with that Ten of Swords. Three of Coins. I see, when I look at this card, it reminds me of people that were trying to put the pieces back together. I see people around you, friends probably, trying to put the pieces. I think you went through a really rough ride here. And I think that this Page of Swords is more about learning. It could be learning the truth about anything, but it's about learning. And I think with the Fool in the house of it, Virgo, this is more about you guys taking a leap of faith and learning something that you've never learnt before, because I think that you've had a really bad experience with something here, Virgo. I'm just seeing a catastrophic event, and you have been wounded badly. You've been trying to continue on whilst being wounded, though, because we can see the Ten of Swords is in the house of the Ten of Wands. So what we're seeing is this person struggling on with all of this pain. You can see all the blood and everything. So it just feels like catastrophe hit, And there you were, wounded. You were the walking wounded. And then I just feel that we have people here that were trying to put you back together with the Three of Coins. The Eight of Swords in the house of the Eight of Wands. So the Eight of Swords, so this is release. Because if you think back to the original Eight of Swords, those Eight of Swords are this person's jailer. So these people were working towards putting the pieces back together and releasing you, I think, with the Eight of Swords energy showing there. Page of Wands. So release and freedom. Trying to release and free you, I think, with this Page of Wands. Because Page of Wands, now we've got the baby, that's the Sun card, on the Sun card. On this Page of Wands energy. They're not much difference. For me, this is about freedom. Trying to put you back together and free you. Okay, release and free you from this torturous event. So, looking at those cards, therefore, Virgo, I think that the focus needs to be on learning a lesson more than anything. Now, the Fool is in the house of the Page of Swords. So it sits in the environment of it. So if the focus is on the Page of Swords, which is learning a lesson, and we have the Fool on there, then the focus needs to be on taking a leap of faith and learning lessons, I think, from this situation here. Because I think it was an extraordinarily painful one that you went through. I think there was a lot of pain here. A lot of pain. A lot of hurt. You carried the wounds though. But luckily, I think for some of you guys, you had friends that were willing to put you back together and help to release and free you from the situation. Hi guys, sorry, I just had to change over cameras. My other one just sort of went out of power. I've got it on constant charge, so I don't know why it actually did that. Quite annoying. But anyway, let's conclude. We had to do this bit next, so I guess it broke just at the right time. As I was setting up the other camera, I was looking at this top line here, and I was just kind of thinking to myself, you know, how interesting that Page of Swords, and that, you know, the Fool in it. And the Fool is having to learn something new. So perhaps the focus is on learning something new. Because I was thinking about the Fool in the house of the Page of Swords. If Page of Swords is learning and the Fool is something new, then it's learning something new. So, yeah, focus on learning something new here, I think, in the month of, not the month, the week, October the 11th through to October 17th. And around this, it's all about the Tower, a massive, like, this looks terrible, because followed by that Ten of Swords. As I mentioned, it just looks like you guys this looks like a bad wound. It looks like you've been carrying a huge wound. And actually, that's interesting, because the word carrying, just carrying a huge, deep wound. Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, everything. People putting you back together here, helping to kind of release you and put you on this new path of happiness and joy with that Page of Wands. It's almost like you're being reborn again, because you've got this child, the sun, the child from the sun on the Page of Wands. So yeah, it's almost like you're being reborn again. People who have helped to release and kind of resurrect you, if you like, from the situation. Let's have a look at what the advice is or the outcome then. The advice is the Lovers. Now, what I'm seeing on this particular card is, I hope you guys can see that okay. Let me just, wait. Oh God, I hope I haven't pressed anything I shouldn't have pressed. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we can see that a bit better now. It's a little bit of a nightmare actually trying to get, because I've got two cameras that I use, my Sony and also my Lumix, and the Lumix I can't feed it through to the screen to see it, so I'm having to kind of make sure that the camera is positioned at such an angle so that we're getting the full view of the cards. But sometimes it's a little bit tricky because the desk that I work from is quite slim, sort of you know, width-wise, that type of thing. Anyway, let's continue. So we have the Lovers card here. I hope you guys can see that okay. And you've got on this card the people from the devil. I don't like the look of this at all, because we've got this, the couple from the devil, which for me means a toxic relationship for me. So I just get the outcome being something toxic. Yeah, I mean, it depends, because, I mean, the devil can also be a good card when it comes to love, because it can talk about a bond, a real commitment as well in love. But these guys look a little bit too hedonistic for me. And he's also got this kind of branch wrapped around his neck. So it almost feels like to me that he is being coerced into something. And if you look at, it's the woman with the horn. So it's almost like he's not even dancing, but he's kind of being seduced by something here. So look at the next one. Right, so we've got the Hierophant. Interesting. So the Lovers and the Hierophant is usually a commitment. It's like a marriage or a committed relationship. I can see that the Emperor is in the house of the Hierophant though, but he's taken all his armour off. That's interesting. Very interesting indeed. Hierophant is all about commitment, but yet we have an Emperor sitting in the house of commitment, but he's not wearing any armour. Interesting. Taking down one's defences. Interesting. So commitment, we'll just read those together. Ah, but isn't this the, wow, I think they've done the Fool twice. Fool in the house of the Page of Swords, and then you've got the Fool in the house of the Devil as well. How interesting. Right, let's think about this then. Two very polarizing cards. One card talks about loyalty and commitment. The other one talks about temptation, seduction. The devil in terms of love can also be toxic, as I mentioned. This is something that is chaotic. It's not, this is, I mean, it's not always a negative card, but it's not a great card for me when it comes to love. And these are two very polarizing cards. One deals with truth and honesty and commitment in relationships. One deals with seduction and perhaps some form of negative energy within relationships. It can also be fun, sex, that type of thing. But they're two very different polarizing. One is light, one is truth, and one is darkness for me. And you can see it by the colour of the cards, one being the white and one being the dark. The devil can also mean desire, but I don't like the devil and the Hierophant together. But sometimes you need the light and the dark to balance one another out. And the Lovers does refer to balance as well. So we've got two cards that balance each other out, the good and the bad, and plus the balance of the Lovers. The Emperor. Right. The Emperor can be really good when it comes to relationships. He can be very protective. I noticed that you've got like 4 straight major arcanas. I just think there's some huge karmic lesson that needs to be learnt in this situation. I really do. I just think there's a massive karmic lesson for you guys to learn, because you've got all majors. You've got 4 majors. I'm wondering if we've got a 5th here, but 4 out of 5 so far majors. That's huge. So the outcome, I don't even think it's the outcome. I think it's an advice for some reason, because of the whole of the major situation going on here. So Emperor sits in the house of the Chariot. We can see though, can you see here? That's interesting, isn't it? You can see the Emperor is in the house of the Hierophant, and he's moved away from his seat at the Chariot. So he was in control here, but now he's moved to this place here where he's not doing anything. So it's almost like he's decided to just completely take his foot off the pedal here, which is interesting. And I think there's a clue in that. I think in a way, some of you guys had been trying to, when I look at those 2 cards together, and remember with this deck, we can create whatever we like through the stories, and we're doing it, a lot of it through intuition and through what cards are going on to what cards. So look, again, the Hierophant, the Emperor is in that house. He was once sat in the Chariot. Can you see? There's his card. That's the Emperor should be here, but he's not. He's in a different place. So it's almost like he vacated this. Now the Chariot is trying to control something. Chariot is in his... Really, the Chariot and the Emperor are very similar in terms of them having responsibilities and trying to control things. But he's left his throne and moved into the throne of the Hierophant. But he's taken off all of his armour. It's almost like he feels more comfortable here. And I think there's a clue in that to say, Virgo, that the advice is that this situation to me looks like you were trying to control something here. But perhaps it's time to take your foot off the pedal now and just to kind of let it go, as it were. I do feel that this relationship, this commitment... I think you got yourself in... I mean, there's no cycle or no Wheel of Fortune here. But I do feel that the Lovers and the Hierophant being a union, and also the Devil, the people in the Devil are on that Lovers card. So this is, for me with the Hierophant, this almost feels like it's more of a toxic union, especially with that Devil card there as well. The Devil and the Emperor could be somebody who has a desire for control. Right, the Ten of Cups. Now, the Emperor and the Ten of Cups is somebody who would often be protective of a relationship, right? Somebody who's very protective of a relationship, or, you know, their family or whatever. But it's interesting because I don't think this is an outcome. I think this is an advice. I think that you've got a huge karmic lesson to learn in this. Those four majors there are saying that there's something bigger and beyond this. And also with the lesson card of that Page of Swords, I see that their focus needs to be on learning a lesson that you never knew before, because the Fool suggests that this is something you didn't know before. So you need to focus on learning something that you didn't know before about this situation. And the advice is the Lovers and the Hierophant. A commitment here. Okay. The Devil, toxic, or a desire for control of the family. Or somebody who wanted to control your happiness. Ten of Cups is the happiness card, and this is to control the happiness. I think it's saying that the advice is that this union, I think with the Devil energy, was toxic. Because this person with the Emperor was trying to control your happiness. That's what I think it's saying. I think that that's what the advice is. Okay? I think we have somebody here who was trying to control your happiness. Okay? And that's why I think this union was toxic. And that's why I think that you got hurt so badly by this individual. Because I do see this with the Tower and that Ten of Swords, Virgo, a great, great deal of hurt. A huge amount of hurt in this situation. Huge. I mean, look at the two cards together. I mean, I'm not going to say what that looks like, but I think this is a very emotional reading. And I think that the people who tried to piece you back together here and who tried to free you and put you on a better path here with that Page of Wands, I think they cleaned you up. I think this was you. I think you went through a huge, huge amount of pain after this. I don't know. I'm not going to say, because I don't want to get too serious, but I don't know whether some of you guys were abused by a partner physically, perhaps, with these cards, or just terribly, terribly hurt. But I think that what I see in this is just, I mean, this is quite a violent version of the Ten of Swords, because it's in the house of the Ten of Wands. So you're not just carrying stress, you're literally wounded. You're the walking wounded with this card here. I'm just seeing you being the walking wounded. It just looks terrible, what I'm seeing there. So I do think, if I'm being honest with you, that because you've been through such a battle here, you've really been wounded by someone. And I think, as I've said, these three people, this is the Three of Cups in the house of the Three of Coins. So if it is, you've definitely, I think, had to work with people, whether this was through counselling or whether this was through friendships or family members. Somebody, a group helped you to try and release, because that's the Eight of Swords. They're showing us the Eight of Wands though. But if you look at the Eight of Swords, usually it shows one person who is bound in by Eight Swords. These Eight of Swords are not binding anyone. They're actually moving. So it's almost like you had to work with others. Others came to piece you together. You worked with others so that they could free you mentally and set you on this new path, a more positive path with the Page of Wands. It's almost like you were reborn again. It's almost like you had to learn baby steps again somehow. So I think this is why the universe is saying that for the 11th to the 17th of October, Virgo, there are new lessons for you to learn here, because this relationship, this commitment, and you were, I think, very committed to this individual, was a very toxic one with that Devil energy showing there. It was very haphazard because we have the Fool sitting in with the Devil card. So the Fool and the Devil could be somebody who's just going into situations just recklessly. No responsibility, no anything. So I think that this was a union that was very toxic. Very destructive. There was no structure to this relationship because somebody was trying to control your happiness. And I think that what probably went on here, Virgo, is that for some of you guys, you were just involved with someone who... I think that the Devil's showing with the Fool sitting in it, and there's the Fool there as well, which is really interesting. You've got him twice on these cards. The Fool is standing in for the Devil. So the Fool is in the environment of the Devil. The Fool has too much power and it doesn't know what to do with it. It's not responsible enough. It's not it's not grown enough to accept that responsibility. So I think this union you were involved with, whoever you were involved with, and I don't think you were the Devil, I think whoever this person is that did this to you is the Fool in that house. That's what I think. I think some of you Virgos were literally dealing with an individual that didn't know how to curb their desires. They had no self-control. The Fool, think about what the Fool does. The Fool doesn't have any self-control, which is why often the dog is barking after it. On the normal Fool card, it's just going about its business and I'm going to do what I want. And the dog often can be seen as, the Fool's conscience, who is saying to him, wait and think about what you're doing, but he's just going off anyway. So I think that you were probably, Virgo, dealing with someone who had no sense of responsibility, who had no sense of right or wrong, and who had too much power. But that with a child, as the Fool is, if you give a child, it's just, for example, like a 16-year-old winning the lottery, it's more than likely going to blow it because it doesn't have any sense of responsibility yet. It's just a child is not wired that way to know what responsibility is. So I just think that you were dealing with a very negative person. I think that this union was very toxic because the person that you were dealing with didn't understand the value of you and the relationship, and I think in their foolish head and in their probably very immature mind, they abused, because this can also be an abusive relationship. That Lovers, Hierophant and the Devil can be a very abusive, toxic relationship. But the person at the helm of it, I think, Virgo, just had no sense of responsibility or agency or understanding of you and what it is to be in a good relationship. And I think that your need probably to control this left, because I think that you kind of disowned this throne. I think in a way that you took responsibility of this relationship because the person that you're with didn't know how to. And I think that as soon as probably you realised that this wasn't going to go anywhere, you quickly kind of abdicated the throne and decided, you know what, actually, I'm just going to disrobe everything. I'm going to just disrobe and I'm going to take some time out. Because I think that you had someone that didn't know what they were doing, and yet they had a desire to control your happiness. But I think the desire to control your happiness I think their desire to control your happiness came from a place of probably not having their own, because they were so inexperienced when it came to the idea of knowing how to deal with relationships. I think it worked on both parts, because I could see you as the emperor who has abdicated your throne because it was too difficult to try and control the relationship with this individual. And I think unfortunately there was a casualty from the rubble, because we've got the tower showing up here. The tower is saying to me that after the war you became the casualty of the war, and you had all these people piecing you together here. Okay, who helped to release all of this hurt so that you could be put back on a path of rebirth. So the advice is that this union was just complete. It was just completely toxic. You were dealing with somebody who didn't know how to deal with you or deal with relationships or even value them. Just wanted possessions. Even the dog it wanted as a possession, you know. As a way to control relationships. You're best out of it. So I think if this resonates with you, Virgo, this was a good thing in a way. It sounds bad, but it's not a good thing that happened, whatever it was, because this looks pretty nasty. But I think that there are so many lessons to learn, and I think that we're being told twice through the reading that there are some significant lessons for you to learn that you just didn't know before. Shown because we've got 4 majors out of 5 cards here, and also the lesson off the Page of Swords. You stand, both of you, in fact, I think, with the Fool. I think that you are the Fool in the Page of Swords. And I think the person you were with is the Fool in the Devil. So after the casualty that you have suffered, it is now time, and you're on the mend, but it's now time, you as this particular version of the Fool, it's now time for you to face up to the truth, but also learn a few home truths. Learn a few truths about yourself and also that individual. They're probably a lost soul anyway, from what I can see. Okay? But a really interesting reading. Really, really interesting reading. I think mistakes were made on both parts. Unfortunately, I really do think that you became the casualty of this person's stupidity and naivety and lack of responsibility and lack of care. I think you became a real casualty of the war. Casualty, 10 of Swords of the war, 10 of the Tower. I'm just going to have a quick look and have a look at what the lesson is you need to learn. I want to see where is my smaller deck actually. Here we go. I just want to, just a matter of interest, want to have a look at what the lesson is that you need to learn. What is the lesson for Virgo to learn? What is the lesson that Virgo needs to learn? Four of Wands, how to be happy. The Four of Wands and the Empress. You know, I can't see, it depends. You know, the Four of Wands and the Empress is somebody who is truly in love and happy in a relationship. But I could see this as also saying how to nurture, how to be happy and really take care of yourself as well at the same time. How to nurture and really take care and love yourself. The Empress really loves herself. And the Empress for me is also about self-love. It's not just about loving others. It's about loving yourself. And with the Four of Wands, it's all about happiness and joy. She doesn't always have to be married. She can also be on her own. And I think after whatever this is that you've been through, I think the lesson that you never knew, because you are the Fool in the house of the Page of Swords, the lesson, Virgo, that you never knew was truly how to be happy and truly how to nurture yourself. how to build a kingdom of love and light for yourself. I think this is something you probably didn't know before. But I think whatever this situation is, I think it certainly put you on the path of discovery of that. Especially I'm seeing you going through this rebirth. Okay. If any of you guys have been through anything physical, it might be that through many surgeries, you've suddenly become a new individual as well. Possibly if you've had to have physical surgery or something concerning what somebody did. I'm not saying somebody did something, but if it's physical and you were, you went through something really bad, I could see this working like that as well. I think the lesson is really how to love and nurture yourself and feed yourself, spiritually feed yourself. I think a gateway is opening as well. The Four of Wands always reminds me of the gateway, the 1111. So the lesson is learning is how to open the gateway to true happiness and contentment, because the Empress also represents just to be content and comfortable. So the lessons that you're going to have to learn, I'm going to read it like that, is how to open the gateway, the portal to totally being happy and content with oneself. Okay? So that you're able to attract in people that respect and love and value in the long run. Okay, my darlings, let's get a quick advice, spiritual advice through the cards. What is the spiritual message? What is the spiritual message that you have for Virgo on this reading? One card. Well, it says it's up to you. Oh, putting that the wrong way around. It's up to you. Okay. I mean, it may be saying that it's up to you, because you're likely to, I'm hoping that whoever, if this resonates with you and you know what I'm talking about, I'm hoping you don't go back to whoever this douchebag is. They've got no, they don't value you, I don't believe, in this reading. I really don't. And to be honest with you, even if they did, what was this all about? And also, you're both, if you think about it as well, Virgo, before I go, you are the Fool on the Page of Swords. This is what you've got to focus on, learning a new lesson, how to open the portal or the gateway to true happiness and contentment, right? The person who did that to you is the devil, the Fool in the devil. So whilst this one learns lessons, this Fool doesn't. You were both fools. So you were both, clambering around in the dark. Both of you didn't have any idea really of what you were doing. Perhaps both of you don't really know what love is, but you have a chance to find it out. You have to let this person learn as they, this is going to be their journey. They have to learn their lesson in whatever time they are due to learn it. But right now is your time to learn it. They always say when the student is ready and the master appears, and it's true. You are ready to learn the lesson, and the master is appearing now to you because it's telling you, it wants to teach you how to open up the gateway to true happiness and contentment. This person, I'm not saying they're a lost, I think I said they're a lost cause. They may not be, but they're going to have to learn their lessons when they're ready. You can't be responsible for what they are. You can only be responsible for yourself, Virgo. So I think that this is something you've got to focus on next week. Okay? All right, guys, love you loads. If you'd like to order a personal reading with me, click on the link in the comment section below. And also make sure you join me on Patreon at the end of the month. Take care. Bye-bye.